can you remind me if you'll be so kind? Staring out into space, asking God to hear my case. Trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I am the host and founder. I'm Lori LeBay, and Alzheimer Speaks exists because my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years. Yep, you heard me right, 30 years, and it was life-changing, and I decided to change careers and try to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort around the world. And today we have a woman with us who is really doing the same thing. Her name is Karen Tyrell, and she is all about cracking the Dementia Code. And I cannot wait to have this conversation because I love talking to like-minded people. For those of you that are new to our show, bottom line, we are about raising everyone's voice and helping them live graciously alongside dementia, no matter what type of disease it is. We understand the emotions, that roller coaster feeling of guilt and isolation and frustration and expectations of yourself and others. But we've also found that path of joy and purpose and passion and learning to listen and let go and just let things flow and really focus on the joy. Along with interviewing people at all levels and all stages of life, from we've had kids on to older adults to businesses to people living with dementia, caring for them, advocates, researchers, singers, songwriters, movie directors, you name it. Everyone has a story, and we want to hear it here on Alzheimer Speaks. So please feel free to reach out to me and let me know what your story is, and we will schedule you on the show. You can just go to alzheimerspeaks.com. That's the main website. There's a big Contact Me button up on the top right-hand corner, and you can either call or email me, whatever is easiest for you, and I'd love to talk to you. Same if you're a business. We help through all of our various platforms raise and elevate your product, service, or tool by sharing our platform with you. And I would love to talk to you about branding opportunities there because people need to know where you are and who you are and what you have to offer. Now, before I introduce our guest today, I always like to give a shout out. And first of all, I want to shout out to Lisa Marie Chakova. She is doing her second annual cruise. And you can find out more information by going to alzcruisetropics.com. That's alzcruisetropics.com. There are others out there, but there's nobody like Lisa, and I know you will be well taken care of. I also love giving a shout out to Stall Catchers. That is a game we can all participate in where we can actually analyze real life Alzheimer's data and push timeframes forward significantly. It costs no money. It just takes time. And there are people like 6 to 96 playing this game. So check out stallcatchers.com. You can put a team together. Schools are doing competitions. There are people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. And even people with dementia can play this game as well if they're comfortable with it. And then, of course, memory cafes. I can't say enough about them. I was honored to launch the first one here in the States back quite a while ago in Roseville, Minnesota. And then we also launched one with the first dementia-friendly community in Watertown and have helped several others launch around the country. But you can go to the Memory Cafe directory and find one in your area. Or if you have one that you want to promote, make sure you list it there because it's free. And we would love to have you listed because people need to be able to find you. Last, I want to just shout out to everybody listening because, it's still the month of November, which is Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month and the National Family Caregiver Month as well. And, we have to pull together and we have to share our information with one another. It's just so critically important because there are so many people in our own sphere of influence that we don't even know are dealing with this. The statistic is every 3 seconds somebody in the world is developing dementia. That's a huge number. And so it's so important for us to learn how to live graciously with it. And to our listeners, again, Alzheimer Speaks wouldn't be where it is without you. Your loyalty and you taking the time to like and share our content on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and so many others have reached us all around the world, which just it has been incredible. And so on this week of Thanksgiving, I'm so thankful for each and every one of you who have participated and listened and share, because that's, to me, the only way we're going to win this battle against dementia. Now, remember, you can call in and talk to both Karen and I directly at 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. Or you can also chat with us if you are on the radio page. There's a little chat box. Feel free to type in your question or comment. I'll be watching both, and I'll pull you in as we go here. So with no further ado, let me introduce you to Karen Tyrell. She is a dementia consultant, educator, speaker, and the author of the book, Cracking the Dementia Code, Creative Solutions to Cope with Changed Behaviours. And what a needed book this is. With over 25 years of experience, Karen has worked with corporations and she offers one-on-one and group support for families to provide practical solutions to help alleviate those everyday challenges associated with dementia. And this is just a critical piece, that practical, applicable tip and technique is what we all need, and we all need to share that. So welcome, Karen. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Lori. This is such an honor.
Well, I am thrilled to learn from you today, as I know our audience is. But before I get into my line of questioning, I always ask every one of my guests, have you been personally touched by dementia in your own family circle or circle of friends?
Absolutely. But it didn't start out that way. My passion didn't start from a family member. It started from watching how people were being cared for in a long-term care home. And from there, I've been on a mission. But over time, yes, I've had family my own. I've had some aunts, and then my husband's side of his family.
Okay. And it's interesting that that's not where it started, but think of all the resources you've built up for those family members. It's interesting what gets people going, and typically they've been touched in some fashion. And it sounds like you were touched by just watching the treatment and the interaction that was happening. And I'm imagining saying we can do better than that.
Oh, my goodness, yes. And I've been so pleased that I have been able to help make a positive difference over these years. It's been a journey, but we still have a long way still to go. But knowing that there are people like yourself and myself just trying to educate, advocate, and try to make a difference for those people, because I just put myself in their shoes and think, what would I want?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
These types of strategies that I'm sharing is what I would want somebody to do to care for me if I had dementia.
Okay. So you had mentioned that you saw the way people were being cared for. Can you just give a couple of examples of what just kind of probably put your stomach in a knot and went, really? Is this what's going on? This is not good.
Well, the big thing for me that I call it my sort of my pinnacle moment of knowing I need to be on this path to help these individuals. And I was doing student placement. I was taking a course around gerontology and therapeutic recreation for seniors. So I was doing my placement in a long-term care home. I was stationed on the dementia unit for several days. And one of the days when I was leaving, after having a great afternoon of programming and making people smile, we were dancing, we had so much fun. This unit was just one long hallway, and in the middle of this hallway were the exit doors. It was double doors, and these double doors had windows that were not camouflaged. They could see in and out of these doors. So as I did the punch code to leave, I noticed the ladies coming towards me saying, "Where are you going? Can't we go with you? We want to go with you. Don't leave us here." And I remember my heart and my stomach just in that knot, as you explained, going, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I have to go, but I will be back in the morning." But that wasn't enough. As I shut that door, they were watching me and pounding their fist on that door and pulling on it, knowing they're locked in. And I walked away backwards. And I remember watching this going, this is wrong. This is not how they should be treated. They should not have felt trapped. They should not have felt like caged animals, in my opinion. I kept thinking, this is wrong. It should have been, we should be reducing their agitation of needing to leave where their home is, which is that new locked ward. And so I thought to myself, we've got to educate people. There's a better way of doing this. We could have put curtains up. We could have put some other distraction in that home for these people to make a better difference.
Yep, very true. And that is such a common situation where people want to leave, they want to escape, they want to go home. There's so many different branches of that. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about today too is you were involved with the first Dementia Village project in Canada. So tell us about the village and your role in that whole piece.
Okay, so because I told you about the real big moment that really bothered me and really set me on my journey was the environmental setup. I have had this dream ever since that day to have my own care home, and I wanted it to be a small house. I wanted it to not feel like a hospital or institution. I wanted it to have access to the backyard anytime they wanted to go for a walk and wandering pathways in a safe, controlled environment. So I've been on this journey for so long, hoping I'll get there someday, and then I finally get this call. I've had people call me before saying, we want to do a Dementia Village, and I've been watching what's been happening in the Netherlands, thinking, I'd love to see this in Canada. And when I got the call for a meeting in January 2017, I thought, well, maybe it's another one of those people just have high dreams, but we're not going anywhere. But when I showed up for that meeting, they had the plans, they had the land, they had architects ready to go. They were so excited about creating this new Canadian Dementia Village on 5 acres, it's actually 7 acres of land. I was just blown away that they wanted me to be involved to support them with making sure that they're coming up with the right ideas, the right strategies, the right concepts that are going to make a positive difference for people affected by dementia. And so this was a project that started for me in 2017, and we broke ground in 2018, and the village is now open. It's in Langley, BC, Canada, and it opened this past summer. It's called the Langley Village, and people can go to the website, thevillagelangley.com. And this is a beautiful environment where the people who live there are not feeling like trapped animals. It is so spacious. The land, the scenery, the walkways. There is a general store that they could go to. They can leave their little household. There's 6 main households, 12 people in each household, and it's cozy in that environment where they're getting really good care. There's no long hallways. It's circular areas that people could walk around. There's a community center they can come to for the day, for their exercise. They feel like they've gotten out of their home, they've got dressed, they've enjoyed the sunshine, the breeze, even the cold. People do love being out in the cold all bundled up. And it just has been such a great experience. I've talked to a family member yesterday who had moved her dad into the home, and she's just so thrilled about the care he's receiving there and how happy he is. She said he's so different now. He's even laughing when they didn't even remember how he used to laugh until recently. So this new village is, in my opinion, the better type of care environment that we need to offer people affected by dementia and their families.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd love to see more of them being built, and that shift in culture of what's important. It's about letting them have some risk in terms of moving around and living life fully and feeling like they're participating in life versus
Absolutely.
being so structured. I think that's really important. So thevillagelangley.com, you said, is where people can go to find out a little bit more about that. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, with the village concept, what did you see in terms of the difference of staff reaction to the philosophy, and same with family and residents?
Yeah, so the philosophy is mainly around person-directed living as well as person-centered care, really what that person needs, and not to have the routine of everybody gets up for breakfast at 8 and everybody has lunch at noon. Or it's a real different type of care philosophy, and the staff that we were told that we're really going to have to work hard to make sure that we beat back that traditional long-term care dragon, we call it, of people wanting to fall into the old routines, the old approaches, the old styles. This is completely different. There's so much more about the village I can share, but the staff really need to adapt to this new philosophy. There is no housekeeping, so to speak, in the household. There is no kitchen staff. It is the team. It's the team leads that work the household, the household leads that coordinate everything. And then we have people who are enriched living facilitators, and they are helping with everything, whether it's picking up some garbage, whether it's vacuuming, whether it's getting somebody dressed in the morning, whether it's doing activities. It is a household, and they stay working in the same household. We're not moving the staff around to different households. It's making family in that home for those 12 people that live in the one household. So, yeah, there's lots more I can share. I have to be careful. I can go on and on here.
Yeah. Well, and it's, you talk about person-directed. I don't like the term person-centered either. And for me, I've been really going with relationship-based, which I think is where you guys are at, meeting the individual needs, not, and really going with the flow and having it be directed by their personal needs. And I love when you talk about kind of the dragon in the room, and that phrase, well, we've always done it this way. And it's like, oh, kick that to the curb. Come on. There's some new things we can try here. It's so important. And, as I travel around the country, one of the things that I think is so critical, and it's rare actually when I see this in place, is that team effort, that like you said, enriched, engaged, that sharing of chores, where you naturally just help one another out, knowing that when you need help, someone else will be there to lift and raise you so that the job still gets done. And I know the butterfly model really does that quite well. And it sounds like, you guys have really adapted to that philosophy. I think the disintegration of true teams and them feeling purposeful has kind of fallen by the wayside in a lot of communities, because we've gotten so task oriented that we forget about our relationships and what's really important, not only to our residents or family members, however you want to term them, but to the staff as well and their families. I mean, everybody is part of this mix, and you can't really leave anybody out because we all affect one another. And I've been kind of amazed at how many communities don't seem to really understand the importance of that structure, and that everybody wants to feel purposeful and everybody wants to understand and help participate and make life better, for those living with dementia. Yeah. And when we make their go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, you hit on that word purpose, which I really want to emphasize something here. That is something that is part of the philosophy that every villager in that new dementia village, quote unquote dementia village, but everyone is going to have a purpose, no matter what that purpose may be, whether it's for them to go pick up the mail at the community center, or they are going to be pruning the berries in our farm garden area, or they're going to be sweeping the patio. All villagers, I'm talking about the people that live there, have a purpose as well. And to make, the real big goal is we want everyone to have a good day every day for whoever is in the village. So it's the difference that you're right. It's this new philosophy that is out there, and I know a lot of communities are using it, but it's really putting into practice every day.
Yeah, and that's the make or break element there, is really living it and breathing it and totally embracing why this is important, and they have to get that feedback and be able to participate in it and sometimes be able to fail in what they're trying and not be prosecuted for it, but just learning from a lesson and in moving forward and not being embarrassed and being able to share that with others. So, we can all learn from one another through the good, the bad, and the ugly, with that. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I want you to talk also about the two books that you have published, and if you can share their titles and where they can get them and what they can expect out of each of those books.
Okay, so the first one is called Cracking the Dementia Code, as you mentioned in the introduction. This came about only because when I moved to a new province in Canada, I noticed some of the approaches by the care staff were putting me back into the era of 1995 when I got started. I thought, wow, the training or the education here in this new province was not compared to what I was used to in the other provinces. So I thought I need to pull together all my education, background, everything I learned, all the workshops, and come up with something very simple to show people how we can support somebody better. And so it became a workshop, which is also for not just frontline staff, but for families, because I really think everyone should be on the same page when it comes to having to manage those changed behaviors. And I'm really sad that you had gone through the experience for over 30 years with your mom, and I'm sure over the time, you knew that it was common for people to have changed behaviors. And in my experience, it's when we start to see those changed behaviors in the middle stages is when it's most challenging for the staff or the families. How do we deal with this? What do we say? What do we do? And so I put together the workshop that addresses that. And after so many positive feedback, from doing these workshops over the years, people had said, we need this information further out than just coming to see you. We need people to know this in other provinces and other countries, perhaps. So that's when the book was developed. So the book came after the workshops, and it all is around creative solutions for those behaviors. What to do. There's a process. It's very simple. It's a process that anybody can use to help manage those behaviors, as opposed to reaching for the antipsychotic medications right away. So it's really, encouraging people to become a detective, to figure out why the behaviors are happening in the first place. Because if we could get to the reasons why, then we can better manage those behaviors. So this is what I teach in that book, as well as the workshop, which I'm going to deliver at a couple of hours from now. I will be doing another workshop. And the second book that I had published, I teamed up with an illustrator because around 2016, there was the big craze around adult coloring. And I always had used coloring in supporting people in long-term care homes in my role in the recreation department, and I knew the benefits of it. So watching adults, really be excited about coloring again, I wanted to let families know that people who are affected by dementia may still love to color too, but those tiny little squares might not be something they could color in a positive way. They might have challenges with their dexterity and whatnot. So we made larger coloring, I guess we'll call them pages in the book, but are not childish, and they relate to memories from their past. So it's called Home Life Memories, and it's a book full of different sceneries that might bring back some positive reminiscing opportunities. The book has 4 different reminiscing questions that could be asked of the person that has the coloring page in front of them, as well as some songs that could be brought forward to say, do you remember this song? And see if they will follow along and sing or hum along, just to create a positive engagement. Some families just don't know what to do when they visit the care homes, and I really found that heartbreaking that they'd come, hi, Mom, how was your day? What did you eat for breakfast? So this person unfortunately won't be able to communicate in that way because they can't recall what they had for breakfast, and then the conversation just ends. So wanting to really educate families, we could do more. We can engage in some positive things. So that is Home Life Memories. It's a therapeutic coloring and activity book for older adults. And both of these can be found on Amazon or through my own website, where I could actually sign the copies if people would like. And so they can go through my own website at dementiasolutions.ca, or again, Amazon, or any bookstore, really. If it's not in the store, they will order it in for you because it's available anywhere.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. And I like when you were talking about the, cracking the Dementia Code, that it really is about the why. I just think that is so important out there. A friend of mine over in Australia, Colin McDowell, did just a really kind of a fun video on finding the why and why it's so, and nothing else is really important except that why behind it. And Gert Benninger over in the Netherlands wrote a book too. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Moving Ahead by Standing Still. And he talks about even the verbiage that we use. And he really, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but he suggests getting away from using the word behavior, because that's not a compliment when we're told we have a behavior. It's not a skill set. And really talking about it, trying to change the verbiage to people looking at it as a signal or a clue to help them kind of put on that detective hat and not have it be a blaming thing. Because one of the things I think people talk about with dementia all the time is they laugh about it. They everything gets blamed on my dementia. Some of it's just my personality, and it always has been, but it's just easy for everyone to blame the dementia. And finding that why, I think, is so critically important. And the more ways we can get to people in terms of trying to figure that out is really important. I use what I call the reaction equation, because to me that's what helped me get there, and that is really something very simple. It's a person's attitude plus their past experiences equals their perceptions, and their perceptions trigger, their reactions. And when we put on that investigative hat and kind of dig through all of that, a lot of it makes just a ton of sense. Where they're going and why. So I think the more ways we can teach people to look at the why and really understand that a person with dementia is really no different than us everything about us is about the why too. Every person you encounter, you can use those same skill sets that you're teaching in your book, Cracking the Dementia Code, with everybody. It just kind of shines a light on human behavior as a whole, I think.
You're so right. And I've had people come to me later and say, Karen, these are some concepts that would really work well with people with autism. And I've never worked with people with autism. I've never worked with young children because I don't have children myself. And so people are coming to me, this is really good for parents too. And I'm thinking, well, I guess it's human nature, really. And so it's just putting ourselves in that person's shoes. Why did they just throw something? Why are they refusing to take a bath? Why do they want to leave? There's always a reason. And if we don't think that way, we're not going to do justice to help this person. And it's just trying to make it as simple as possible for people to grasp this way of thinking and to adopt this new attitude towards the individuals who are living with symptoms of dementia.
Yeah, I was at a conference this last week, and somebody came up to me, just like you said, with autism, and they said, oh gosh, we want to have you come speak. I deal with mental illness and all of this applies. And I said, you know what, I would be glad to speak, but I got the perfect person for you who really has lived the mental illness, both. But it really truly is universal. And I think, I don't know, for me as a daughter, when I learned to look at things different, and Lordy, I am far from perfect, and I slipped up a lot of times, and I would go into that blame and shame game, when you're just feeling overwhelmed and you don't have time, or you feel like you don't have time. And it made just a huge difference. It made my mom's life easier. It made my life easier, everybody around's life easier. And it was just like, there's that saying, when mom is happy, the whole family's happy. Same thing with a person with dementia. And we can save so much time and energy and bring that comfort and help the budgets too, with staffing, because they can get in that spin cycle of crisis and really finding that comfort. Taking that little bit of extra time avoids kind of that disastrous draining time that throws everybody for a loop and isn't healthy. And so I think I do really agree with you that it's changing that mindset and letting them see and literally feel the difference in the atmosphere. Is
nothing
powerful.
Nothing warms my heart more than when I consult with a family. I educate them around some of these techniques that have been used for years, but they had no awareness of it. They just were not in this world. And when I can educate them about some techniques, such as what I talk about in my book a lot, talk about in all my education, is around using what I call therapeutic reasoning. Mm-hmm. And when they grasp it's okay that they can use therapeutic reasoning for their loved one as a way to help keep the peace. Wow, the transformation, the thank yous. Karen, I had no idea this is a possibility. What a difference this has made in our lives. I guess I get goosebumps and I get overjoyed with, wow, we are helping people make a difference in this world, and to make the life journey so much smoother, reduce as much stress as we can. It's not possible to eliminate every stress or every problem, but if we can reduce it, help the families to cope better, then I feel like we're doing, a wonderful thing for the families.
So when you're talking, your therapeutic, what did you call it? Therapeutic
reasoning.
Reasoning. Is that like your white lie, or what I call the fiblet?
Oh, I guess, yeah. Everybody has different names for it. I just always talk to people around, it's so hard to reason with somebody with symptoms of dementia because of their poor thinking abilities, their poor reasoning abilities, or their judgment, decline in judgment abilities. But we could use therapeutic reasoning because it's a way that will provide a benefit. Anything therapeutic is beneficial. And to look at it in this way, we're going to reason with this person in a way that will bring out a benefit for everyone. It's going to help keep the peace. it helps bring a lot of reassurance for that person who's lacking reassurance in their world.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, I like the word therapeutic because I think family and staff can go, okay, this is an acceptable protocol. Because I think when they get into that white lie or not telling the truth, right away, some people have that. I that's not me. I always tell the truth. I'm always honest. And when they can understand that sometimes telling the truth isn't healthy for that person.
No.
Like I never told my mom I got divorced because she loved my husband, and I loved him too. I just didn't love him the way I needed to, anymore.
Right.
And we moved apart, and she would have spun in that, and to this day we're still friends. But I could have never explained that to her where she would have felt comfortable. It's kind of like with a death. Sometimes, people go, well, I have to tell them the truth. I have to tell them. That's not right. And it's like, in whose world? We always talk about living in their world. And I have a little bit of a problem with that because it's our world. And it's about bringing peace to our world, and putting them first and foremost in how are we making them feel. And, and I just think it is so critical. So I like that therapeutic reasoning. So thank you so much for sharing that. What are some of the top?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I tell them to put it in their back pocket. Here it is. This is therapeutic reason. If you're not comfortable, then okay, that's fine. But know that it's available to you. And some families I've done that, and they've come to me and said, Karen, we pulled it out of our back pocket, joking with me, and it was the best thing we could have done. We should have done it sooner, but they weren't ready. So just letting people know, I know it might feel awkward, but you're right. You said it. We want to keep the peace. If it's not working, if we're telling them the truth that somebody has died, that they are devastated every time they hear this, then why don't we just use a little therapeutic reasoning to say, oh, where do you think, Uncle Joe is today? Where do you think he is? And if she can come back to reality on her own, that's great. But if she says, oh, I don't know, maybe he's out fishing with Bob. Oh, well, then maybe he's fishing with Bob. Yep. And that is just leaving it at that and moving on to something else more positive to talk about. But instead of it's hurting them. If we're saying these things that is going to bring anxiety or anger or upset, why didn't you tell me? No one told me. Those types of emotions are not what we want to surface. We want to keep the peace and to know that it's not about being deceitful or hurtful to harm someone. It's really about helping.
Yeah. That is very true. And I've had families too, like you, that just weren't ready. And like you said, it's very common. And like, oh my gosh, why did we wait so long? And I think some families, and there's no right or wrong to this, just get to the point of, I am so exhausted, I will try anything. And then they pull that out, like you said, of their back pocket and go, wow, that worked. I can do this. This was so much easier versus that draining or even that anticipation that a conversation like that could turn up, and knowing how emotionally exhausting it can be if you're not in the proper mindset. And I think that's what sometimes keeps families away and friends away, because they have already pre-framed that this is going to be really difficult and it's going to be really hard. And so, when you pre-frame something like that, typically that's what you're going to end up with, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you expect. But when you get into that flexible, spontaneous role, you can have so much fun in these conversations that are wonderful stories to tell and share with family and friends after the fact, because it's about the fun in the moment, the joy that can be had, or the peace and the comfort. And, those things are definitely there. And I think, through marketing, through fear for so many years, that's one of the things we have to, as educators, have to keep chiseling away with it. There's a whole other side to this. That's what people thought about cancer and heart disease and diabetes and AIDS. And I mean, the list goes on and on. And people don't believe that anymore. They believe that there can be a quality of life with those diseases. And I think dementia is absolutely no different. What are some of the topics that you educate for both family and frontline staff? Are they different or are they the same?
Often I do the same around the Cracking the Dementia Code workshop. For example, today I'm actually going to educate the volunteers that are going to be helping out in the village, Langley. But I have done workshops for families. Last week I had done one for families, but I use different language when I'm speaking to the frontline staff as well. I use different, bring up more the studies that have been involved and really trying to change their mindset a little. It takes a little bit more work with the frontline workers who've been in the field forever to kind of get them to think this way. And when everybody's on the same page, if all of the staff on the unit or on that in that home are using the same language, thinking the same way, instead of having only 2 or 3 people go off to a workshop and come back and try to implement all these changes, it just doesn't seem to work. So I love when I get to go in and educate everyone together, or in the case of the village, educating their volunteers, and then I will be educating their families shortly, because I believe that if you're not working together, it's going to cause more problems. If somebody's using therapeutic reasoning for someone and to say to them that their husband is probably still working late tonight, as opposed to, he's passed away, and then somebody else comes in and says, well, your husband passed away, because they're trying to use reality orientation, it's going to cause this person a lot of emotional upset. Up and down, on who's on that shift, or family are using this technique, and the staff aren't feeling confident in using it, and they're not feeling they have permission to use therapeutic reasoning, then it's not going to work. I just really feel we need to be all on the same page, so everyone is getting the same education. But over the years, I have had families come to me and say, Karen, how can I avoid getting this? I see my mom go through this, or my grandparents, or my husband. How can I avoid this? I don't want to develop dementia. And so I created a talk. It's an hour talk using a lot of the research that has been brought about on how we can maintain a healthy brain. So I speak on that. I speak on, other sort of stress and dementia connections that we're noticing. I talk more around how to cope, how family members could get the tips for survival on this journey. Tips that caregivers need to know. I love educating. I love really opening up people's minds to thinking differently, because we have to when it comes to dementia care to really make that positive difference.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you're, because I have the same philosophy that we have to educate everybody equally using the same terms. Otherwise, it's just not going to work, because we all affect one another. What are some of your future hopes for dementia care, Karen?
Oh, boy. I wish I had that magic wand, Lori. I really do. I wish I can get rid of it completely. I wish we can stop the families going through this. It breaks my heart. It really, I still get teary-eyed when I hear of a new family being affected. It's like, no, another one. But this is the reality that we're going through right now. Families are being affected, and I wish it could stop.
Yeah.
So I would love to see every type of dementia have that cure, a treatment or some kind of way to eliminate the slow and steady decline and changes and devastation that it brings to families, for sure, hands down. I would love to see that change. But then I think, what can I do in my own little world with my abilities, my skills, my expertise? And, it's basically pushing for enhanced education, more education out there. As soon as people understand it better, they can make a better difference. And I'd love to see more dementia-friendly communities step in and step up in the world, and, just to really get educated, because that's one of the big components of cities becoming dementia-friendly is getting that education piece, so they could support somebody and not think, wow, that person's gone crazy. Why are they acting this way? Well, to understand this is common for dementia, and here are some solutions on how we support somebody with that issue.
Wonderful.
So I would love to see more education for sure, and using the right approaches, because like you said, we can't stop this every 3 seconds issue. I cringe when I hear it. I don't like hearing it, and all we can do is, encourage people to commit to more research, funding research, but also funding to help the families get this type of education and support that they need on the journey. Because as you said, for some people it might only be 5 years, but for some people it could be 30, and that's a long time. They should not be journeying alone. They really, I believe, the help, the more support, the more people they can vent to, ask questions to, people to jump in to help, provide respite. Everything is it's complicated in some ways, but if families knew where they can turn for that help, that is what we need to have happening in every community.
Yeah, we really do need a balance between care and cure. That support is so badly needed. Everyone would like a cure, but in the meantime, we have a major crisis on our hands worldwide with this, and we need to get a hold of people at all levels, from kids in school to spouses, to friends and family, neighbors, communities at large. I totally agree. Well, Karen, this has just been a wonderful conversation, and I so appreciate your time. Now, people can go to your website, which is dementiasolutions.ca, because you're in Canada. dementiasolutions.ca, or info@dementiasolutions.ca is your email. And you also have a phone number, 888-502-1321. That's 888-502-1321. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I really so appreciate it, and I am so aligned in terms of what you are doing, and I hope people reach out to you to learn more.
Oh, I feel the same way, Lori. It really makes me happy to be speaking with other like-minded people just like me. So please continue the amazing work you're doing. The world needs you. You're doing amazing.
Well, thank you. Up and onward we'll go, and our community will follow and hopefully spread the word. And don't forget to purchase her book, Cracking the Dementia Code. And again, you can get that on Amazon, or go directly to her site to get a signed copy. It'd make a wonderful holiday gift for a family member as well, or a friend who's dealing with this. Again, at dementiasolutions.ca. I want to thank everyone again for being with us. And please like, click, and share, and subscribe. Pass this show along. That's what we're all about. And if you've got a story to tell, I want to hear it. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What are you doing in your own space to make a difference in our dementia care culture? Because everyone has the power to make a difference in the life of someone living with dementia and ourselves. We have this a great impact on not only ourselves, but everybody as a whole, because the lessons learned through this disease can be applied in all of your life. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday season, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
Well, hi, I'm Lori LeBay, and I wanted to tell you about Alzheimer Speaks, which is another great podcast. You see, my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I felt lost. Did you know every 3 seconds someone in the world is being diagnosed with dementia? Odds are it's going to hit your families too. We want to help you connect to services, products, tools, research, and stories so you can be prepared. Please subscribe to Alzheimer Speaks on your favorite podcast platform.